Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Hi. All right. Let's get you in here, Elle. I do you. Hi, Mara. Hi. You are on your drawing account, too. Fancy.
Hey, I showed up.
You have to. Hi, everybody.
Showed up.
Oh my goodness, let me get down to our page because I did not do that.
Good evening, Joseph. Hi, Mara.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, that would be the last of the singing, probably not, but I'm trying to recover. I know. Okay, new page in the notebook, everybody.
I forgot my notebook again. Oh, you know what, though? I rearranged my office so I can grab my notebook.
Oh, whose idea was it to put those there?
Ooh, okay. Let's not talk about the Charlie Day-in of my office. I do have to stand up and, like, you guys can all look at my chest for a second.
I do that like twice a week. Mata, thank you for abandoning your anime to hang out with us. That means the world.
Yes, thank you.
I swear I will, actually talk here in a second, but there's a cord situation happening. Okay. Sorry. I got my ring light around my charger, and yes, I had to plug things in. They're such garbage. It's at 35%.
Your ring light or your phone?
Hi, guys. What did you say? What snarky comment was that?
Your ring light or your phone? Which one was at 35%?
My tablet is at 35 and my phone is at like 60, so at one point I'm going to transfer this cord to the phone. I feel so cold out right now, okay?
Oh, you're such a Pisces.
For anybody watching, look, this is author Megan Alexandra cup. It's almost as if I'm somebody.
This is a unicorn mug with except it is not as it was marketed because it was showing that there was supposed to be like sparkles all around. And they're all stuck at the bottom here and they are not moving even as I drink. So I am deeply disappointed.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with that. I also don't know how to pin information like you did last week.
I think I know how to do that.
So you do it.
I don't know if it'll let me pin, but I will try here really quick.
Well, I'll just say, guys, welcome to the first ever So You Wanna Hang Out sesh. We are just gonna give like a quick heads up here. We're hanging out tonight. This is a community we're building, so this is about you guys as much as it is us. We did write some things down to fill the void in case nobody wants to jump onto the stage and talk about themselves. But please feel free to plug your stories, drop your links, drop your socials, whatever's clever. But quick disclaimer, don't ask us, things like where we work or the names of our closest families or what our pet name was, anything that could basically break the encryption on a bank, those sorts of questions. But we're not going to be giving out addresses or phone numbers or adding you to WhatsApp, which apparently I have to say.
That. I get that question all the time. Like, can we talk on WhatsApp? No, yeah. I don't know you.
And we absolutely would appreciate it if you guys didn't share that stuff in our chat either, because for online safety, we don't want to encourage that sort of thing. There are a lot of different ages in our group, and who's to say, if everybody's whatever. Okay, the point is,
I ran out of space, and I think because I'm not hosting, I can't pin, but there's the information there.
Okay, yep, sounds good. All right. So on that amazing note, guys, check out my Swan and my James Bond novels. I'm stoked. Okay, I'm slowly working through the bookshelves here. All right, guys. First ever, So You Wanna Hang Out. I'm Meg. I'm one half of your host tonight, and I was once referred to as a reclusive spider.
Okay. That's hard to say. Hey, I'm Elle. And I'm still contractually obligated to be here. I'm still an Aries, and I'm still a hopeless romantic, but only on paper.
Hi, Moon. Today is going to be so much talking, but I guess you guys are used to that by now. But again, it's not just about us, it's about you guys. And if you followed our pages or watch our stories, then you know we want to hear from you. We asked ahead of time if you had a book you wanted us to promote, so we do have those that we're going to recap at the end of the night too. But again, feel free to drop your stuff in the chat. That was very hard not to curse. But yeah, feel free to share anything. If you want to talk about your writing story, your origin, your questions, your works in progresses, don't be shy. Drop your titles, your links, your socials. It is open mic night. And yeah, look at my shelves. All right. They're so bare, though. Like, really, I could show you guys the true tragedy. I'm still working in this office. So I need your books to fill my shelves because it is just very sad.
I feel like I should do like a look at my one shelf because my other shelf died. Okay. So while there is obviously no real structure for us tonight, we are going to talk a bit about how we ourselves got into writing, how we became friends, and the origins of So You Wanna. Oh, thank you. Someone said they love my outfit.
Oh, never mind. I'm wearing a Kodak shirt. It's
Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to talk a bit about tonight, this afternoon.
Yeah, and we did get a fair amount of questions. Like, wow, that was a lot. So I thank you for that. I love the questions. So.
Yeah, so we may end up going a little over an hour. We'll try and keep it around that hour mark for you guys, though.
No, wait, we have to acknowledge that Moon said, and my makeup.
It's because I'm wearing glasses. No one can see my makeup.
No, this is important because I sent the voice message to Elle before this. Right. I said, in earmuffs, children, I said, something horrible has happened. I couldn't stop putting on makeup, and now I look like a hooker who caters to raccoons. But I'm glad you guys like it. I was worried it was too much.
Oh my gosh. Okay, anyways, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is now up and running. I still also have plans to create that creepy face blanket, so please send us those screenshots. I appreciate them. All right, stop denying your excitement here. We got a lot to get through, so you want to get started?
Yep. Okay. So while you guys are working on dropping your stuff here so that we can read it out there and plug you, hint, hint, wink, wink, I'm going to give you a quick rundown.
Oh, I'm sorry. I never do that on the show again.
That was hot. It was doing it. I liked it. Like, I don't know.
I'm glad that one was okay.
But I'm going to give you a quick rundown of myself. I want to get it out of the way because, oh, joy talking about myself in front of others. But anyway, so I'm a writer. Okay. Yeah. I'm a writer, and I'm actually the daughter of two writers, the sister of one. And so really you could just say that it is a family trade at this point. I'm lucky enough to have the type of parents who always encourage creativity. And I was able to take a lot of writing and extracurricular crap. And, you know, I had great teachers. I visited libraries and that sort of thing. So I'm very truly blessed. That's just a quick rundown of my, you know, writing background. I don't write professionally. I thought about being an English major, but I took a different path. And so these days I just write on Wattpad. I used to write on an app called Episode, but I really didn't do too much with that. I mean, I read a lot on there, and I still do for certain authors, but I really didn't do much for it as writing. If you watched last week's show, I confessed to writing a Christmas Regency romance on the Episode app, but yeah, that was about it. I made the transition to Wattpad a few years ago with my friend, Meredith Ann. If anybody knows her, she was on our show earlier in the year. And now I just basically cruise around looking for your guys' work. I read poetry, I enter contests, and one day I'll work up the courage to actually judge a contest, but that's not going to be today. And then I write depressing things. Like, really, Elle calls me disturbingly dark sometimes. So.
It's rubbing off on me, and it's actually a little scary.
What?
It's rubbing off on me. Like, when I told you my whole series story, and I got to the end of the series, and you're like, you're writing that?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm glad. Okay. My actual, like, writing, what you might know me for, I'm the writer of the Miranda Writes Trilogy. Right now, you will know book 1 called Night Shift, because that is actually out. Book 2 is still being edited. It's called Protect and Serve, and it will be released very soon. And then there'll be a book, obviously, after that. The series is a paranormal romance where the main character is a homicide detective and may or may not be crazy. And if you like ghosts, vampires, werewolves, secret societies, damaged families, and all the other things that go bump in the night, the link is in my bio. Though I do love Miranda, I have to admit that my pride and joy is actually the book Birds and Bullets.
I love Birds and Bullets. It's so good, you guys.
Well, thank you. I think a lot of people don't know it too well because it's not fully released, and I feel like completed stories on Wattpad do better than, you know, weekly updates. And it doesn't help that I kind of paused at like a hiatus in the book, like.
And added like a huge cliffhanger too.
Yeah.
I'm actually still a little upset about it.
I mean, you can read chapters 1 through 12, and it does. Hi, Basil. It does end on a cliffhanger at the moment. But like I said, this is a very important book for me. So it's actually several years in the making. So I realized I've changed a lot over the last like year. And I realized here a little bit ago what needed to be done. And I just haven't had like the energy to do that. I'm working on Miranda Writes, and I'm working on The Osler's Boy. And so I've kind of not had the muse, I guess, like the right mindset to finish what needs to be done with Birds. But it is, you know, mapped out, ready to go. I just have to pull the trigger. Haha, anyway. Like I said, chapters 1 to 12 are on there now. The other half will be up in a few weeks. And you're going to notice if you read that, it's a lot like the James Bond novels. Ian Fleming and his concepts of masculinity and, you know, love, which a lot of people associate with James Bond. That's where a lot of the ideas in Birds and Bullets stem from. And, of course, the bird words of the espionage world. So, yeah. I'm almost done talking, I swear. There was a question which feels natural to kind of like put in here, and that was, how long does it take you to write a novel? And I feel like this is such a broad answer, but it depends. Like I said, Birds is an ongoing, several years in the making. It's probably 7 or 8 years for me to write this. And that's because, I don't know, ideas take time to mature, right? So I've changed it a lot. The original story was actually told from a love interest that's in the book. So I changed the main character entirely, and I went from a female POV to a male POV. And you know, that was hard for me to write because I've never written as a man before. So it's just been a learning process and whatever. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that, I guess. For anyone who cares, just a breakdown, this last rewrite of Birds and Bullets has taken me about 1.5 years. And the Miranda Writes Night Shift took me about 1 year to write the first draft, which was in third person, and 1 year to write the second draft, which was in first person. So, you know, I guess it just depends on if you mean physically writing or if you mean creating the idea, because ideas take a long time to form. And I think I read somewhere that did I just butcher that? Tolkien. Jeez. Oh my God. Tolkien took 14 years to write The Lord of the Rings, I think. But yeah, so don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on me. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, there's 2 questions here that I'm going to throw at you or ask to you. What sort of secret societies? I think that was in regards to Miranda Writes.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't be very secret if I told you, but if you read the book, so you'll slowly get crumbs, and by the end of the third book, I promise you, all your questions will be answered.
Ooh, that's such a good answer to that.
Yeah.
Okay, do you look at your work and think, this isn't good? If so, how do you get over that feeling?
Yeah, actually, that was my day yesterday. I think Mata and Elle can attest to this. I came into the chat saying, I want to write, but I can't write because everything I write is garbage. And so all I can say is that you just have to push through it, because you know what? If you write it and it's actual garbage, you can go back and fix it. Like, everything starts out as a stupid skeletal idea. A lot of my story ideas come from when I'm driving or I'm in the shower and I don't have time to like write them down, and it'll be like a line of dialogue, or it'll be like just some random conspiracy thought, and then I have to go back and like, okay, what was all the details? And so yeah, I mean, it's okay to write trash is what I'm saying. It gets better.
Yeah. Okay. Someone sees you, mysterious queen, by the way.
Thank you.
I just winked again. That one was awkward. Okay, we're done with winking.
Did you wink again? Damn it, I missed it.
I don't wink anymore on the show, and so I feel bad. Okay, I guess it's my turn to share my origin story.
Yes.
Okay, so me. I started writing. The end. Okay.
All about
I mean, it does kind of go like that. So I've always been a reader. Well, I mean, it kind of is, right? Here we are.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was a really early reader. Basically, from the time that I realized that you could read words and my mom wasn't just magical, I wanted to read. And as soon as I got into the world of books, I was just, I mean, you lost me. I have always had a deep love of books. And I would spend hours in my room. I had like this desk and I would sit under it with pillows and just books all around me. And I was obviously...
That's called a fort.
So when I eventually realized, when I went to school and we were encouraged to write like little creative stories, you know, that I could actually be the person creating these books, well, my whole world changed. I am the youngest of 3 kids, and I'm very close with my older brother, like the middle child. And so the first book I ever wrote was like this story called Sally and Tom, and it was based on us, and it was like about us eating donuts, and and I mean, it's kind of funny, and it makes sense that my first book that I ever wrote was you know, of me and my brother under pseudonyms. It's probably why I created, you know, a pseudonym for myself as an author. I've just always, you know, been kind of protective of myself and the people that I care about. But anyway, as I moved out of that kind of writing about a person I know really well, as I went through like kind of like the middle to the upper elementary school years, I got really obsessed with the Olsen twins, like super obsessed. And So when I wrote my first chapter books, which I use that term so loosely because they were
Ray's here. Hi, May.
yeah, so they were not super long. I would be lucky if they were like 10,000 words. They were about these twins named Hannah and Claire, and this was probably where I started writing romance because as I went into upper elementary, I obviously started getting interested in like boys and what is that magical first kiss gonna be like? What's high school gonna be like? So spoiler, my first kiss was not as magical as the way that I wrote, and high school was just insane.
That checks out.
So but once I actually entered high school, there was a long period in my life where I actually didn't write. So in high school, I ended up incredibly busy with academics. I had extremely lofty university dreams. I kind of got discovered as a dancer and kind of taken on in a more professional way. So my whole life kind of revolved around academics and dance, and pretty much I had no room in my life for anything else. That was my whole world. You know, and so so then I went through high school and then I got into university, and obviously anyone who's, you know, been to university or if you're in university now, you know how demanding university can be. Obviously I wasn't really writing there. I had also gone through quite a bit between ending my dancing career, beginning university, and getting through university. So it really wasn't until I moved to where I am, like where I live now, and I bought my first house, I was kind of at home one day and I had this idea for a novel, and I just kind of picked up my laptop, turned on Microsoft Word, and I just started writing, and it reignited something inside of me where I remembered that I love writing. So that's when I first started writing my very first like full-length romance novel. I've never released it, and I've held it very close and dear to me, because I've actually pitched it to publishing houses and stuff like that. I don't think I will ever put it on Wattpad. It's evolved so much since, you know, I first started writing it, and, you know, and it was really, I don't know, it's a really important book to me. It's very special to me. It's changed a lot, but it also brought some of the pains of being an author, because obviously I've been through so many rejections. To begin with, the novel, the first draft of the novel is not what you would consider a romance at all. It did not have a happy ending. I kept getting rejected. I ended up sending the manuscript to someone I know who is a writer for Harlequin romance. And she came back to me and she's like, you know what? She's like, I don't get it. She's like, is this a romance? Is this a drama? Like, what is this? And then she had like this huge list of things where she's like, this is why you're not getting any kind of, you know, anyone who's interested. And it was in that time that I realized that, oh, there's actually a structure here to writing a romance. And there's more to writing than just sitting in front of your computer and typing out some ideas out of your head. And so as I I began to grow from there, and of course life along the way got busy, and I kept writing and stuff. I started writing on Episode as well, so I do have published stuff on there. And I ended up being like minorly successful on Episode, which then took me a bit away from narrative writing because I started kind of focusing a bit more on that, only to realize that like I much prefer narrative writing to the kind of writing that Episode is. So anyways, it was in 2019 where I decided to do Nanowrimo. I wrote a book. It was terrible. It had been so long since I'd really sat down and done some good narrative writing after everything. But, you know, it kind of reminded me that I miss narrative writing. So in 2020, I had a dream, and that dream was the basis of Colorglin, which I ended up writing for Nanowrimo 2020, and then I decided, with some encouragement from my Instagram followers, to publish it on Wattpad. So I began publishing it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, one or the other. Anyway, so yeah, so I didn't actually have very high hopes for Colorglin because I felt kind of beat down by that point with just a lot of like stuff going on. I had entered a contest in episode and it ended up not going well. So I just felt like I was like this really sucky writer. And then Colorglin ended up being something that I got a ton of messages about, a ton of attention for, and everyone really liked it. And so it kind of got me going again, going like, okay, I can do this. And so then I started taking an episode story that I had written and I turned it into a narrative, which is For the Love of Art, which, you know, you can also check out on Wattpad. And then, yeah, and I got I've also had a lot of people really enjoying that book, so that's good. Yeah, so I feel like just kind of my writing story has been like a lot of like ups and downs of me being a writer and me letting life kind of take over. But I feel like now I'm kind of at a new point in my life where I have more space for writing, more time available to dedicate to it and to dedicate to helping people who are, you know, probably going through a lot of the same things that I went through when I kind of realized this is something I'm really interested in and this is something that maybe I want to try and have some success at. Like, I think if I didn't try to get my writing out there in a real way and put myself out there in a real way, I think I would, like, if I died tomorrow, I would regret it. You know? So that's why I feel like it's so important to, like, chase after your dreams. Anyway, I've also, like, in the recent past since meeting Meg, I also started dabbling in poetry, which is something that I used to do, but I hadn't done a lot of, and so now I also have, like, a self-titled poetry book. So if you ever do want to learn more about me, you can just read my poetry because it is literally my life from about when I kind of started, from when I ended competitive dance and up, it's gonna go up and through to my life kind of now. So it's, I've been said to be really sad.
It's so good though. I love it.
I don't know. I guess my life hasn't been entirely peachy, but I mean, there's some good
one
stuff.
poem where it looks like a house.
Yeah, I did. I did a poem shaped in a house and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess that's a little crossover into like Meg and I. So I'll just end there. That was a lot for you guys to take in. You're probably all like, oh God, tell Elle to stop talking.
I'm still waiting for guys to drop their stories in there. Someone's got to be first.
I know.
Mata is in there.
Like, let's hang out. Let's chat. Tell us some stuff about you.
And Starboys are two of hers. You know, guys, come on. I'm going to start throwing you under the bus. I'm just kidding.
You both, oh, there's a question before we keep going. Do you both want to be full-time authors? So I feel like my life and the way that it's going, I don't know that being a full-time author is necessarily going to be a thing, but I'm very fortunate right now that I have a very flexible schedule. So being an author is definitely something that I can, that's definitely on my radar, is something that I want to be doing more of, for sure.
So for me, I said my life took a different path. I have a career and it's great and I love it. It's very rewarding. So I could be happy without being a writer, you know, like professionally. But I do have lofty, you know, dreams of being a full-time writer in some capacity. I have a little bit of a film background and I used to write screenplays and act, as I've mentioned. But, you know, I kind of like being on the other side of things. So I would love to write for shows, you know, something like Netflix or, you know, HBO, where I could just be really dark and raunchy. But, you know, like that, those are lofty.
I feel like
I happen, George.
I feel like if I did screenplays, I would have to be on HBO or somewhere where I could be a bit smutty, because I have to often, like, when I write my sex scenes, I have to, like, write it and then take it back a tone, because I'm like, oh, this might be too much. Yeah. So I feel like I'd have to write for somewhere that I could be a little raunchy.
But like Elle, you know, I've submitted Miranda rights to some literary agents and some publishing houses, and, you know, It's a lot of no's, guys. I'm gonna warn you right now. If you've not done it, it is a lot.
It's a lot of no's, and you have to be ready for those no's. You kind of gotta walk into it with the idea that you're probably not gonna get a yes, and just like keep.
Some of the no's are good though. Like I had one that was, you know, I was so excited to submit to her, but she actually came back and told me, and she was like, you know, I'm not taking this genre, but you know, I wonder if this would be better told from a first person point of view. And this was back when Miranda Writes was actually in the third person point of view. And so I made that change. And I mean, honestly, the story is significantly better. Like, it just was the change that needed to happen. So
I haven't read the original.
Be responsive to feedback. I'm not saying say yes to everything people tell you, but, you know, sometimes if you try it out and you think, wow, okay, yeah, this kind of works, you know, that outside, that no can be a good thing, right?
Yeah.
My beta readers.
I was gonna add on to that. A lot of whenever I have gotten feedback, good or bad, it's helped me a lot, you know, being anyone who's written, I mean, really any genre, but romance is something that a lot of the ideas are very overdone. And, you know, one time, one of the comments about the story I submitted was, one of the comments was that my voice was very flat. So, you know, so I redid the story again, you know, and I felt really defeated at this point. I submitted it again a couple times. They were all rejections, but one person actually came back and said, wow, you have a really unique voice in romance. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that. So sometimes taking that rejection and, you know, even though it hurts to hear, like, you have a really flat voice, so, like, basically saying, like, you suck.
Yeah.
And then just applying it and not letting it get you down. You end up maybe getting a rejection, but then you get someone back saying, like, you know, I really actually like your voice, but, you know, it's still a no for me.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. What were you
How many beta readers do you have? Because you mentioned having beta readers before. Sorry, dropped the R there. But I don't know how many you have. And I don't have a beta team. I have friends that I force my ideas upon.
Hi!
Yeah, I've got Elle and Mata, and, you know, I'm like, hey, can you read this and tell me if it's coherent?
Or you read it to me, and I really like it when you do that.
That's because I do accents, and they're bad.
I love it. It gives me life when you read me your books. I'm like, yes, read to me, please.
How do you ensure your novel is novel? Wait, what? Like a novel, like length, or like special, or?
I'm thinking more like how your novel is like you know, like special and unique and it's a lot of trial and error in my experience, because
hi little dreamers,
as I said, like, I think any genre, a lot of stuff is really overdone, and romance really feels like a genre that's kind of tired sometimes, because it's the same kind of tropes, just done differently. But, you know, and I think a lot of it is just creating, for me, I find it's like creating characters that are believable really helps me. And just, I don't know, taking something that feels tired and bringing it back to life with my own kind of spirit, like, and wit, I guess. Like, For the Love of Art really feels like a lot of me. Like, I'm just kind of a fast-witted person, and, you know, and that's how I kind of give a story that's a little tired something new and unique, is I pump a bit of me into it. I feel like I'm unique.
So, what I was saying, this is going to sound super cliche, but write what you want to read. You know, so if you're the reader who's waiting for that enemies to lovers with the, you know, certain knife to the throat scene or whatever that, like, I'm trying to think of cliches here, you know, write it. Just write it. And even if you write just that scene, you know, and kind of like what Elle said, when you dive into your characters and you give them a purpose and you give them a background and you give them, you know, a direction and hopes and dreams and make them sentient within the story, they kind of like, they'll shape the story for you. And if you do that for all your characters, and it's not just, you know, main character and love interest or main character and antagonist, it's, you know, Oren and Sydney and Miranda and Bishop and Peter all having the same, you know, kind of importance within the plot, then they're going to start to intersect. And then that will, you know, really stand out, I think, for your readers. And then your readers are going to see it. And not only that, but they're going to, like, individual people react to things that happen to them differently. So like Elle and I would react to someone saying something to us completely different, even though we're besties and whatever, you know. But, you know, I would probably have some horribly cruel comeback and, you know, Elle would be like, oh, thank you, because she's Canadian. But, you know, you guys are so polite.
I think that people think I'm nicer than I am.
Yeah, so just keep your characters, you know, real in that sense, make them different, and then the story will change with it, and it will be special and unique.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah.
Little Dreamer says, right, if you want to read is my favorite. Yep, Juliana.
There was something above that. It says, how do you find that balance between writing what you want to read and also writing to your target audience? So, I mean,
I feel like your target audience and what you want to read should intersect at points, you know, and you should be willing to introduce your ideas, new ideas to readers, and your readers should want to, you know, be introduced to those new ideas. So I feel like, you know, trial and error, like, I don't know, take it out.
Well, I mean, for me, like, I mean, obviously, like, my target audience is, you know, adults, obviously 18 plus because I write.
Yeah.
I write a lot of stuff, so
yeah.
Obviously 18 plus. Obviously romance readers. I'm looking for that hopeless romantic crowd, not just like, oh, I like a good romance. Like, I'm looking for people who are hopeless romantics. And so, like, when you start thinking about your target audience, you kind of think about, okay, like, I often think about, okay, like I'm not necessarily a hopeless romantic. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that I'm not that person, but I can definitely get into that mindset very easily. And so whenever I think about, like, okay, if I was a hopeless romantic, what would I be looking for? Like, what would I want to read? That's kind of how I combine the two together, is I think about, okay, who's my target audience, and taking on myself as that person, what do I want to read? Like, you know, so I start thinking, okay, like, if I'm kind of a hopeless romantic, you know, I want something that's soulmatey, you know, like, I want to believe that soulmates exist and that nothing in the world's going to get in the way of that. I'm over 18. I'm probably interested in reading sex. So obviously I'm going to put some sex scenes in there, and I'm going to, you know, and I'm going to think about, like, what kind of romance is this? Is this dark? Is this sweet? Like, you know, like, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of how I guess I make the two worlds kind of like intertwined together.
One Little Dreamer says, Elle looks gorgeous in the suit. Yeah, doesn't she look hot?
Thank you. Everyone's been commenting.
And it's real fast. So, you know, write to sell. Yeah, you want to write to sell. That's ideal. So, it's really like I mean, I hate to cop out on it, but just kind of like a trial error and see, kind of in combination with what Basil said is, you know, you're kind of looking for a reaction. That's why beta readers are good and why friends are good, is because, you know, they're going to read it and they're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I like this idea, you know, and you're going to be able to hone it in. So when you guys said target audience, like, I like how Elle in the suit goes to ages 18 through 35, and, you know, typical romance, and I in the Kodak party shirt, I'm like, I'm just looking for the guy who's ready to, you know, fuck shit up.
You know, I'm just gonna point out, like, I may be in a stupid thing, but I'm still wearing, like, this is a polar bear. This isn't like a super, like, formal.
I know. You want to look nice, but you're here to party.
I am here to party, you guys. I have to find that balance. Today we were like, okay, like, we should probably dress like our personalities a bit more. So I'm like, okay, I was like, on the outside, I'm very, like, kind of, you know, if you meet me, I'm very, like, proper and I'm, you know, reserved and stuff. But, like, on the inside, when you know me, and Meg's kind of seen behind the curtain of, like, the real Elle, I am, like, loud. I am here to party and have fun. Like, so I'm like, how can I reflect that in my outfit? So
it was this or Def Leppard, so
I voted Def Leppard. I'm just gonna throw that.
I couldn't find it, so. Oh God.
Should we talk about the birth of Should we talk about the birth of So You Wanna?
Yes, we absolutely
should.
Okay.
Oh, geez, I just about spilled my tea.
Don't do that. I look away for
having a moment, people. I'm like so taken aback by like everyone being like, "Oh, she's so pretty." I'm like, "Oh, I'm blushing." Okay, sorry.
Guys, okay. The history. Ooh, somebody's reading my poetry as we speak. And it's Isa Stone. That's gonna be really sad for them. Okay, so the birth of So You Wanna is actually a sad story. Spoiler alert. But I wanna share it because, you know, Elle and I found each other through kind of a shared agony. And I think that that's really important to acknowledge with things like this, like when life gives you something as valuable as such a trusted friend, especially in the darkest times. So after that amazing setup, to answer your question, Basil, Elle and I became business partners like this. Last year, I lost my father, which today is the worst pain I've ever had to feel, knock on wood. But I was kind of free-falling in the grief for a minute, and I came here on Insta to say, hey, guys, I need a few days off. I'm not going to be here. So I made a post about it. I made a story about it. And so I came back, and I came back to a message from Elle. And it was just really simple, but it was really kind. And it was just, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. I know we don't know each other, but I'm here if you need anything. And anyway, we started talking after that. And I learned that Elle lost her dad too, just the year prior. And not to sound horrible, but it was definitely like a realization that I could find some sort of kindred spirit with her, or whatever you want to call it. So, like, if I said certain things to her, Elle was going to understand them, not pick them apart or try to fix them or tell me, hey, it's time to move on, which sadly is something people will say to you, I find, when they haven't had the same exposure to grief. So that being said, the light out of all of this is we're actually super similar, and we share a love for writing and for helping people. And so it was kind of like a natural transition to create So You Wanna. We got the idea from Elle's writing. She writing posts. She does these how-tos that were called So You Want to Write a Romance, or So You Want to Write a Historical Drama. I know, so original for me, but she's the brains. But yeah, so then that started into a conversation of, yeah, hey, maybe we could do something like this. And then that very quickly came into us doing this actual show every week. And then it became you guys showing up here every week and chiming in and sliding into our DMs. And it became reading lists. And it became, you know, buying books off Amazon from indie writers. And for and from having our shows. And sharing your posts and, you know, story games. And all of these new friends that are here now that we absolutely are so much better for. So.
Yeah. Like, you know, I agree. And like going off that, like losing my dad was so hard for me. I like to this day, like, even after just, like, talking about it, like, I can feel myself tearing up. Like, it's so hard for me. And at the time that I lost him, like, no one in my life had lost a parent, so I was in, like, this indescribable pain, and I felt like I had nobody to share it with. And also because people had never experienced the kind of loss I went through, there was just a lot of, like, you need to get over this. Like, you need to move on. It's time to get past this. You know, he died 6 months ago. You know, he died a year ago. It's, you know, so it was just really difficult for me. And then COVID hit, and I felt extra alone. Like, I went through my first birthday without my dad, with nobody, because I couldn't see my family. I just, like, to feel that kind of intense pain and loneliness is something to this day, like, I can't even begin to describe, like, how hard it was for me. So when I saw Meg's story, and this was at a time when I didn't really check people's Instagram stories, because I had just kind of gotten off, like, some minor success on episode, and ended up in, like, this whole bullying thing too. Like, a lot went on in 2020 for Elle people. So I was feeling really IG.
Why am I laughing?
I was feeling nervous about reaching out to people, but I saw her story, and something inside of me just was like, you have to say something to her. Like, you have to, even if it's just a simple, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, you know what she's going through right now. You can't leave her alone through this. So it's exactly what Meg said. Like, I just left a really simple message. I didn't even know if she'd reply to me, because I knew how I was feeling at the time I lost my dad. Like, I just didn't want to talk to people. So I just kind of left it at that, and was like, you know, like, if she replies to me, she replies. If she doesn't, she doesn't. Like, you know, I could respect her either way, just knowing what she was going through, but I just didn't want her to feel the same intense loneliness that I felt for over a year. So, you know, and in the beginning, we actually really didn't talk that much. Like, it was once I started posting, you know, and I think part of that was the fact that she had just lost her father, and then Christmas was coming, and so obviously, like,
reclusive spider.
And so, but anyway, I started posting about a contest that I was entering with my friend M on episode, and we kind of semi started talking, because she was really because she was really into, like, the premise of it, because it was, like, based on Beauty and the Beast and all this stuff, so she was, like, really into it.
It's called The Sack, for anyone who wants to read it. It's SAC.
It is. It's actually the SAC.
I know. I just, like, called it The Sack.
Anyway, and at first I wasn't super talkative, because I was so busy with this contest entry. I was so busy getting Colorglin ready for Wattpad. I was just really, like, tunnel visioned between November and January. So I didn't even really notice that she was trying to, like, reach out to me and be my friend. I'm a horrible human, because I just, like, I didn't see it very well. And then one day I was working out, and then I went back to my phone, and I'm like, this is a lot of messages. And I realized, I was like, they're all from Meg. And I was like, and that was kind of when it clicked. I was like, oh, like, she actually wants my friendship.
I'm trying.
And so then basically we started talking kind of more regularly. It wasn't necessarily like a all day, everyday thing, but it was definitely more regular. And then one day she kind of let me know. She's like, oh, it's my birthday tomorrow. And I was like, oh no. I was like, this is her first birthday without her dad. And I remembered my first birthday with my dad. And as I said, like, it was very sad. It was very lonely. It was very awful. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be there for you all day. I literally cleared my whole day. I was like, nope, I'm not doing anything else. This is my focus. I was like, I don't care if you don't say a word to me all day. I was like, you will not be able to shake me. And that, I feel like, was actually the pivotal turning point in our friendship, because it was on that day that I realized I had met someone who I could be 100% open with, because we talked about the stupidest stuff, and she realized that in university I was maybe not a good person, and I'm kind of that prim and proper personality that, you know, I kind of portray when people talk to me is a facade, because I'm actually loud and kind of wild. And then, yeah, and I just realized I could be open with her. I could tell her anything. I realized we had this deep connection with our dads, because I could literally say, you know, like I'm having a bad grief day, and like that's all it takes for Meg to be like, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do today. And she just kind of like, you know, gets me out of my funk, and she's like, we're gonna write, like you sit down and we're gonna write together. And like, you know, it's like we don't have to have these big conversations of like, well, I'm feeling sad about my dad because, you know, like all this stuff, which I always feel like I have to explain my grief to people. She just gets it, and she's like, if you want to talk, talk. If not, then let's just do something, and, you know, like keep our mind busy. So whenever she's actually the one who kind of was like, can you write me a post about how to write this? Can you write me a post about how to write that? And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then, you know, and then she was kind of like, you know, I really think this is something, I think that this is a community that we can build. And for me, it was just like a really easy yes to be like, you know what, we like hanging out, we like laughing together, we like, you know, I mean, we talk, Meg and I talk all day, every day. You know, we'll randomly call each other when we're driving home. Don't worry, hands-free.
Hands-free.
We have hands-free. But yeah, I'll be like driving home, and then my phone will ring and it's just Meg, and she's driving too. And so we're like, oh, okay, like let's just, you know, talk about absolutely nothing. And
which is a
so,
big deal because reclusive spider.
So, you know, and like once that kind of happened, it's like it just made sense. Like, why not hang out for an hour every day and help other writers and just like have a good time and create a community and have more writer friends ourselves that we can talk to, and who we can go to help us with stuff, and who can come to us when they need help. Like, it just all made sense. We Charlie dated, and it made sense. You know, and I mean, which we are, like, I love growing this community. We are starting to come up with like new ideas to help grow it. We're thinking about merch and stuff like that, which, you know, everyone just stay tuned. There is more stuff coming from us. We are not going anywhere. So.
Two things. One, Mata says, don't text and drive, kids. Yeah, please don't. Like, seriously, that's a serious PSA here. Hands-free, okay?
Yeah, we are totally hands-free.
We've got these arms that hold our phones.
I literally brought an arm because...
You want the Amazon
brought an arm because every day when I got off work, Meg would be like, so are you going to call me? And I'm like, okay, well, I obviously need a reason. I obviously need to buy something so I can call you on my drive home. And
I will say, Mare said, you know, making friends is hard, and JC, you know, seconded that. It is, and nobody prepares you for it in adulthood, because you go to these institutions where you learn, most people, you know, unless you were homeschooled or remote schooled or whatever, but you go to a place where you're just guaranteed that other people will be there, and it's so much easier to meet people that you have classes with and interests with, and you make friends. And then you get out into the world, and you are responsible for making friends and for speaking to people like unprompted. So it can be very daunting to make friends, and that's another reason why we created this show and this community, is because we are all here for the same purpose. We want to write. We want to, you know, write about things we know. We want to write about things we don't know. We want to know the things we don't know, and other people know them, so talk to us, you know.
Like one of my favorite things has been that, like, I mean, my DMs have actually been more active, you know, people coming and like chatting with me about writing, about sometimes nothing at all, you know, like
I love that
in my story, and they're like, oh, that's interesting, tell me about that. And I've really enjoyed, you know, kind of cultivating new friendships with people, and, you know, it's been really great for me personally. I really enjoy it and stuff, and it's been great.
So I want to speaking people, I do want to promote some people. Joanna is gone now. I didn't get a chance to throw her out here. But Culinary Confessions is her story. She actually slides into my DMs sometimes and talks about it, so that's pretty cool. I'm on her ARC team. So yay. I just want to throw that out because I didn't actually write her down. So, you know, she didn't ask me to promote her, but since she was here, that's what you get.
Yeah, okay. You guys just know we're probably going to go over this hour because we still have more stuff to get through. So please stay with us if you can. Okay, I'm going to quickly run through these books to promote here. So coming soon to Wattpad, All the Reasons by @CC Marie Official. So for Ivy and Pax, being friends was easy, but lines blur and tensions rise as a drunken night leaves Ivy Ivy into Pax's bed. Oh my god, I already like this. I love any.
I know. I was like,
being led
like,
into someone's bed. I'm like, yes,
you know?
yes, let's have some
that.
sex, people. And they learn to navigate the changes in their relationship. The mask is coming off the prim and proper. I should just take this jacket off. Okay. The Seventh Strike by It's Misa on Wattpad, or really anything she's written on episode. It is true. She's a very good writer on episode. At 18, you're expected to make decisions that can shape the rest of your life. Where to go to school, what to major in. If your high school boyfriend is important enough to hang on to in college, oh my gosh. Let's not talk about how my high school boyfriend dumped me in England. So he wasn't worth it. I did not hang on to him in college. He left me in a foreign country.
He sure did. Oh.
The sadness of my life, people. Okay. But what if every decision you made changed someone else's life? What if your choices changed the course of an entire empire? I like that. I'm
actually reading this one right now.
It sounds really good.
Yeah. Like she said, Misa is actually a phenomenal writer. I read her on an episode, and you know, now that she's on Wattpad, I'm like, you know, stalking her page. So yeah. Wattpad's where it's at.
All right, Willow Manor by
yes.
author Patty Vick. Okay, I am reading this book, you guys, and I'm gonna vouch for it and say it is so good.
It is
so
good.
A modern twist on the classic Gothic genre, Willow Manor follows a new nanny, Katie Gallagher, through the haunts and horrors of her new children's home and lives. Definitely worth a read, even if spooky isn't your go-to, because the cutting humor is just so perfectly timed. You know what? I agree with that perfectly humored. I was reading a chapter yesterday morning, and I was getting like that creepy, crawly, like that horror feeling when you're like, oh, you know? And then all of a sudden there was just like this one line. It was so simple, and I just started laughing out loud. It is really good. So if you're not necessarily a huge humor fan, I can definitely attest to the fact that there will be moments of like release from that. So
and you love all the characters, like you start rooting for Bill, and like
I love that. Bill. Oh really my god, I love Bill. He is my love interest.
Yeah. Next one, Little Dreamers, you are actually in our chat right now, and we don't have a synopsis, so if you could drop one, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, it's called Delicate Bond, and it's available on Wattpad.
Yep.
So, yes, please drop.
On my reading list.
It's on mine too, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is Fang, The Blood and Water by Tiana Larae, which Tiana is someone that Meg and I have actually had an opportunity to work with. We were on a live together about relationships with her back in April. She is just a wonderful soul, and her book sounds amazing. I will just read it here.
I'm so glad you took these, because
Okay, so Silas has forsaken his family and liked it that way. You see, his family are monsters, not in the poetic sense, but real monsters hell-bent on destruction and death. After 10 long years, Silas receives a call from his mother, Lenora, who wants him back, and Mummy always gets what she wants. Silas is tasked with finding Harper, a girl who holds a powerful secret, but the more he gets to know her, the more he begins to fall for her charm. And if that isn't bad enough, he has competition. If Silas isn't careful, there's more that will be at stake than the current status of his love life. Ooh. I love that description. It's actually really well done. I love it. Very, very much gets me like, what's that? I mean, like, what's going to happen here? I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So anyone else in the chat, if you guys have books, please drop it. If you want us to promote your books, please slide into our DMs. I will happily repost synopsis and book titles and covers. Like, you guys just send me your stuff. I'm so happy to promote it for you guys whenever.
Yeah, I love sharing my story. Like, I don't know why. I just get a sick satisfaction of doing that. So if I can tag you in something and you want my followers to be your followers, I will do my best to reroute them towards you.
Yeah, that's me too. I will definitely try and route my followers in your direction. Yeah.
Before we get to questions, I just want to say that I wrote this down. Okay, so I have some reading lists. If you go to my bio, and if you're not on Wattpad, you need to be on Wattpad because there's so many good books there, and it's all free. Well, not all free. There are Wattpad stories that you pay coins for, but the majority of books on there are free, and the ones that you do pay for are good. But anyway, so you know. I have several reading lists, but the ones current reads, that's where you're going to find Willow Manor, where you're going to find The Seven Strikes. I have favorites on there. Some of my favorite authors, like Carolyn Hill, are on there, and you're going to find their work. And Saint C is on there as well. And then Colorland, of course. And then there's a list called Read Next, which, has like 180 books on it, but I'm going to get through it, I swear. So if you want an idea of, some books to read, those are the ones that I found were interesting and from authors and writers that I know on Wattpad and in the community, or have been in contests that, I went and stalked their story and thought they were amazing. So check those out. And then I have 3 reading groups that are actually on there too. One is Flirting with 30s. Those are all writers who are in their late 20s or 30s. And those are really good books. And then Chuck Taylors, that's St. C's reading group. That's good. And then the last one, which is my I'm sorry, talking so fast. My Discord group here is the Sprinting McSprints team, the Sprinting Sprint Squad. Sorry, I'm a boomer, I guess. Those are a lot of the faces you see in here, a lot of the Instagram community, and like I said, on our Discord. Those are really good too, and there's some really unique voices in them, so make sure you check them out. But yeah, sorry, that was it.
Similar list on my Wattpad too. I have books that I'm currently reading, which is pretty small because I don't read on Wattpad as much as I should. I'm trying to get back into doing it. And then I also have books that I loved, that I've read, that I really enjoyed, and you can find that. And then I also have the Sprinty mixed sprint. So. Okay, we'll drop it for us in chat or in a private chat, and we will promote your book for you.
Yeah, you can make it short, or you can write it here, shorten it, whatever. Send it to us, whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into these questions.
Yeah,
questions. We're already over that hour, and people are probably sick of us by now.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for staying.
Yeah. We're enjoying this. You guys keep dropping stuff because we're
yeah,
we definitely want you guys to be promoting yourselves, your books, everything. Keep dropping stuff in the chat, even if it's about you.
Yeah.
Okay, how long does it take you to write a book is the question. You kind of answered that already, so I guess
I'll take it.
Answer that. So a first draft for me, it just depends how committed to the story I am, how inspired am I. That can be pretty fast for me to get a draft out. I feel what takes a really long time is editing. Let me just bring out my, I'm editing Colorland now, and you guys.
Binder.
It's the baddest thing. So I think editing is what really takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So to really do a complete book that I'm super proud of, that I would send off to a publisher, I mean, we're talking it could take me years. I've been writing that same book that I told you guys about for years, since I was 23. We're not going to talk about how old I am, but I'm not that old, but let's just say it's been a hot second. I'm not middle-aged, okay? We're still in the young years. All right. What genres are your least and most favorite to write? I will let you start.
Oh, good God. So my favorite to write is romance. But to be honest, I generally write romantasy, so romance fantasy. Because fantasy is probably what I like to write and read. Pretty close to romance. I'll just say that if you want me to read your book and it has romance in it, I'm probably gonna read it. Okay, but if it doesn't have romance in it, it's gonna go to the bottom of my to be read list because I'm a garbage pig. I just like love. I love love. So romance, and then my least favorite to write. This is gonna be crazy because I'm reading Willow Manor and it's amazing, but horror because my mom is very scary.
And I love your mom. I just need to throw that out there.
Yeah, but she's too creative with scary stories, and it frightens me. And so, you know, I don't even write scary movies because when I sit down and, you know, I watch the movies, I'm like, picking it apart and stuff. But then I'm left with my imagination, and I'm like, oh God. So, you know, yeah. That's my answer.
So my favorite genre to write, obviously, I think it's very obvious, is romance. I'm like Meg, you know, I'm a hopeless romantic on paper. In real life, I'm not that kind of person. I'm definitely like, Meg knows me pretty well. She knows I'm just kind of like a very rational, realistic person for the most part, and I don't often get caught up in things. Every once in a while, you know, I might find myself like feeling caught up in like romance in real life, but it's not like a common thing for me. I'm definitely more like a rational thinker. And a part of it, I think, is because I went to university and did psychology. So it's like, I've seen behind that curtain, like I know what's behind, you know, I kind of know what's behind stuff and like what's behind feelings and what's behind like sex, you know, so it's like, I just don't feel like a romance is a real thing.
That's sick.
So, but like on paper, it's fun to think about, right? So, you know, so I'm definitely a real hopeless romantic on paper.
I actually believe in soulmates.
See, like I believe in friend soulmates, but I don't necessarily believe in like love soulmates. But maybe it's just because I still need to find.
That's sad. Little Dreamer said delicate bonds. Is it delicate bonds or delicately bonds? Bond.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I thought it was delicate bonds. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she says a romance about a werewolf and a siren. That's actually on my list. To read like next. Romance for the win. And then Skies of Ember says, I find being bilingual struggle most days. Sorry, my chat is moving here. With writing, as one language comes in more than the other. Plus, I'm very visual. I visualize the scenes before writing and then struggle to find the terms. Yeah, so I'm just bad in other languages. I wouldn't call myself bilingual. But I do like to write in other languages, which takes time to do. And, you know, like Mata writes my German for me. But like in Birds and Bullets or Spanish, and I'm like, is this even right? So I get that.
Yeah, I am bilingual, so I totally understand.
That's okay, good.
There are many times when I'm talking with people, and like I often will think in French and stuff like that, especially if I've just talked to my mom on the phone. Like I am definitely thinking in French, probably.
Yeah, but Quebec French. So I'm too excited.
Yeah, I'm get excited. But yeah, so I definitely feel that struggle sometimes of like I'm thinking and I can find even sometimes I'm typing, like I'll be typing out and I'm like writing along and then all of a sudden I'm like, why is this in French? You know, I'm like it makes sense to me in my head until I go back and I'm like, oh, that's switched. So then I have to go back and translate it and yeah. Oh my gosh. Actually, one time, funny story, I was buying books and I was reading this book. And so I'm reading like the synopsis. I'm like, oh, it sounds so good. So I ordered it and it was part of a series. And I ended up ordering the French one, but all the rest of the series was in English. And I was like, oh, you idiot. Like,
oh my God.
Because it's like, but because my mind can so quickly switch back and forth, like I just didn't pay attention to the fact that like, oh girl, you're reading in French right now.
What though? Like, I have started buying books in other languages because, you know, it's a really good way to immerse yourself, you know?
It really is,
like, think about it. And then, like, yeah, so It's not totally horrible, you know, like you probably.
No, but it does, like, it bothers me because when I buy a series of things, like, if I'm going to buy
it doesn't match now.
I want them all to be in French, and if I'm going to buy English books, I want them all to be in English. Like, it's like an OCD thing. Anyway, my least favorite to write, I'm just going to quickly finish my answer here. The same as you, it's horror. Well, actually, I have two. So my first one would be horror. I do not like horrors. I'm reading Willow Manor. It's amazing. But I think the only thing that keeps me pushing forward is the fact that she drops in that humor. Because, like, if you watch a horror movie with me, you better be ready for me to be sitting on your lap, hugging you, like, holding on to you. You gotta be ready for it.
Like, I don't even know what's happening.
I can't do horror movies. My other least favorite to write would be fantasy, because I have such a hard time with creating a whole world. And often when I read or watch fantasy, I have a really hard time getting into that world and understanding. I'm just not good at it. Like I said, anyone who remembers me when I said with Shadow and Bone, it took me 3 episodes and someone sitting beside me and explaining to me like I'm a 5-year-old what a Grisha is.
I just want to throw this out there because this is our, wow, I just like seductively threw my shoulder, sorry. This is a writing show. For anyone who is apprehensive about starting a new genre and doesn't know how, reach out to other writers. If you want to write it, just start writing it. As Elle would say in her historical drama post, you know more than you think.
You do. Yeah.
But, and I explained this to Elle when we did the fantasy live, okay, you are constantly world building. So you might not be creating elves and sirens and werewolf lore, but you are creating backgrounds for your main character and names and families and cities and, you know, ideas and story arcs and tropes.
Sorry, that's my dog, you guys. She's probably about to start barking.
All that stuff. Don't be scared. A fantasy. I need more fantasy books to read. Oh, okay, I'm gonna move on to the next question. What kind of music do you listen to, and do you listen to it while you write? No, I think psychopaths listen to music while they write, but the Discord server, I think there's actually a robot that's like plays music while they write. So I just insulted like half our audience.
The question of what kind of music do you listen to?
My low battery. Yeah. Guys, my low battery light came on. I'm such a
Pisces. Yeah, well, we're trying to get it up. You can still hear her because she's going crazy.
It's plugged in. She's just excited.
She's excited, yeah.
But
okay.
I listen to grunge and rock and roll and pop and a little bit of country and pretty much anything. I've been really into the string covers of popular songs lately. So
oh my gosh, yeah.
Go to my Spotify. It's in my bio.
Yeah. What kind of music do I listen to? I'm definitely like a more of a pop kind of person. Although like I'm really into AC/DC and stuff because my dad is. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my arm. It's like keeps falling. Anyway, my dad was super into AC/DC, so I listened to that a lot, and I'm still kind of like into it and stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely a kind of a poppy kind of person. Obviously, like the 2000s are kind of where my jam is. My phone is going crazy right now. I'm going to be touching my screen a lot because my phone is having issues, everybody. But and do I listen to music while I write? Yes, I make playlists for my stories and I listen to them. With Calorglin, it was a lot of fiddle music. So.
How? I don't understand it. I have to have like dead silence.
Oh, really? I don't always listen to music, but I do sometimes. And when I'm planning, I actually listen to podcasts, which is weird, I know, but I listen to podcasts whenever I'm doing like my little planning. It's very strange. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Do you put villains into your romances? Not, sorry guys. My phone, we're now having technical difficulties because we're going over an hour. My phone is like falling and failing and it's dark.
Destroy!
Yeah, it's like, shut up!
Those were robot arms. I'm sorry, people.
Anyways, do you put villains in your romances? Not in the same way that you would put a villain like into, say, like a fantasy or sci-fi or superhero movie. My villains definitely tend to be a lot of like internal battles within, you know, kind of thing. Like the villains tend to be the issues that get in the way of that romance from happening. Is the only way I can really describe the villains I put into my romances.
I do, but that's because I cross genres, and I'm usually writing fantasy along with the romance. Right now, I'm writing the Ostler Boy, which the main character is a princess, and so naturally there's other people of the court, and there are, you know, marriages and politics and war and stuff. So yeah, there's a villain or two in there. The phone is tired of live streaming, that's for sure. I find that certain music helps me get into the mood, like sad song for emotional scene. Yes. So I listen to music before I write, like when I do ideas and stuff, and that inspires me, but I don't listen to it while I write.
She listens to my voice.
Romance is the highest selling genre, yes. And then, where are you from? I am from the Midwest, if you don't hear it with my A's. Yeah, or my slang, which you could easily, you know, Urban Dictionary and be like, oh, where did that originate?
I'm from Canada. I live on the west side of Canada, though, and you could probably pick that up by the fact I say car and bar and far and a.
And my favorite, decent.
I don't say decent that much.
You do, though.
I don't notice.
So Basil asks, romance is the highest selling genre, I believe. Did that influence your decision to write romance? No, I write what I want to read, and I'm a hopeless romantic, and so all of my stories are going to have a romantic arc, and, you know, yeah.
For me, it's like romance kind of came to me because as a kid, I really romanticized relationships and romance and stuff. And then I went to university and did psychology and realized that it's relationships and stuff are not as romantic as one might think. Not to say that they're not fun or anything. And so I kind of like bringing back that idea and that feeling of, you know, romance can be really beautiful if you let it be beautiful and stuff like that. And I just really like that. So trying to be that hopeless romantic that I once was. I pitch myself great.
What was the first romance you read as an adult? Probably Pride and Prejudice, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would say Pride and Prejudice because I read that in university. It was one that I had to read for my English class. But I would say the first romance that I picked up and like chose for myself to read would be 50 Shades of Grey, because when I was in my early 20s, that was when it was just like becoming this huge phenomenon that everyone was reading. So that is what I would call like the first one that I picked for myself to read. Yeah.
Okay. Guy says we need a new drinking game for this hangout. I think it should be every time we talk about Willow Manor being funny. There's like a whole chapter that's always spoken about.
Okay. When do you feel most inspired to write?
Patty said every time someone says romance, we drink. That's what I'm doing, at least. You must be trashed.
That's actually a good one. So we talked a lot about romance because we're romance writers. Yeah. Or how about every time Elle has to fix her arm?
What show you on? Like, to prop it against.
Okay.
Or tighten the screw.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. See, I know.
Hi everybody. Hey.
Did you ask this already? Where do you feel most inspired to write?
Or it says, when do you feel most inspired?
Oh, when.
I'm kind of all over the place. Like, I find being here in like my office really helps me, like sitting down at my laptop, because there's not much distraction in here. So I find that really helps me write. I think I'm more of a morning writer than a nighttime writer, which is strange because I'm not a morning person. But I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I love coffee, and coffee and writing kind of go hand in hand. So it just makes sense.
I am most inspired to write when it is least convenient for me. So when I am writing, or I am in the shower, or I have no way of writing anything down or taking notes or recording anything, that is when I am most inspired.
Good job. Are you a night writer or a day writer? I'm definitely more of a day writer. By the time night comes, I am just pooped and exhausted and would rather sit down with my podcasts and hang out.
I often fall asleep writing or wake up to write. So I am a nighttime writer.
Because I have so many messages sometimes in the morning, and it's like all these things. She's like, can you listen to this? Can you tell me this? Can you and I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, like I'm not even awake. And then she'll notice that I'm active.
Like eye bags.
I'll be like, I'll just wake up and she'll see like that I'm active on Instagram, and I swear she starts messaging me like, girl, give me a second.
It doesn't help that there is a 3-hour time difference between us. So like
two in the fall.
I wait for you to wake up.
Well, in the fall there'll be less of a time difference between us, so it won't be so bad once we fall back. Okay. So can you tell us about any upcoming stories? I'll let you start.
Oh, thanks. So the one that I'm working on now is called The Ostler's Boy.
That one.
It is a romance. It's kind of like a medieval-y vibe to it, but it is a bit of a fantasy. I mean, kind of. And it involves the main character is a princess who is going to inherit the crown, so she'll be queen. It's between two empires that have previously been feuding, and now there is peace on the condition that she marries into, the opposite empire's family. It's a romance. It's a bit of a forbidden romance. It's a frenemies to lovers romance. It's much darker than Elle will tell you. Because the language in it I tried to make very romantic and pretty, which was new.
Until you kind of stop and realize what you're reading.
Yeah, but it is a bit of there's a few mysteries in there. So I don't know. That's what I have on the burner.
My big thing on the burner right now is I have a romance series that I'm creating. It's going to be books. It's right now the series itself is entitled The Bachelor Collective. Each one kind of circles around the love interests are a group of guys who kind of went to their first year of university together, but they all ultimately took very different paths in life. We've got one who went on to be a doctor. The second one ended up as a firefighter. Third one went to trade school and took up a trade. The fourth one ended up just dropping out completely and going into underground fighting. And the fifth one became a police officer. So, but they all, throughout like the fact that their lives went wildly different, they all still remained really good friends. It is told from both the point of view of like the female and the male. So one chapter is like female, the other one, the next chapter is the male, which is different from what I've done. I've never actually done this before, so it's been really interesting to do. And so it's kind of interesting. The first book is very light and fluffy, kind of what you would expect from me if you've read my romances, but the stories kind of get increasingly dark until the end, which it all will end happy. But book 4 is kind of set to be like the darkest timeline. And I'm really excited for it. It's going to be really good.
I'm stoked.
And I'm definitely excited. I think something else. Oh, like the whole book kind of starts where.
Wait a second.
The whole book kind of starts where it kind of all where the series hits a climax. It kind of, I start the whole series with that climax, but then I cut you guys off. So it starts really, I really love my opening for this series. I'm very proud of it.
I'm proud of it too. I'm glad to be on the document.
Yeah, so she's read the very first like little snippet, and I actually sent it to her
when you're published.
When I wrote it, I actually sent it to Meg right away, and I'm like, I might jinx it, but I was like, I think this might be good. I was like, yeah, it's good. So here we are. Okay. Do all your books have?
Hold on, I want to get to Basil real fast before the chat moves. What do you think about this for a novel idea? A type A type guy, very career oriented, looking to settle down, but finds it difficult because he doesn't like letting his guard down. I think that is a popular, very well received idea. And
I love those type books.
Put a good spin on it. So yeah, I think go for it.
I love it because there's often you can really add a lot of tension in there, like romantically, when you have someone who doesn't seem like a romantic. I love doing those.
So
that's actually
also says something I've noticed when you have a male-female POV stories, the female one suffers and the male one is usually most interesting. Have you noticed that? No, I wouldn't say as a rule. But I will say as an experience for me, that's what happened with Birds and Bullets. Like it was originally from Casey's point of view. And then while I was writing it, I was like, I actually like Jamie so much more. So I switched the point of view and ditched Casey entirely. So sometimes, characters just speak to you more as the reader. So.
Ooh, I got long arms.
We're almost done, guys.
I'm actually reading a series right now. It's called The Beautiful Series by Christina Lauren. This is the first one, Beautiful Bastard. It is actually both male and female perspective. In my opinion, these ladies did a really good job. I was invested in both sides equally. They were both really interesting. They were both really well done. And I'm kind of trying to use their ability to create that, like where they're both really interesting, as like a good point for myself. And also
and as
this book,
writer,
The Wedding Date, is written in third person, but it's also male and female perspective, and it's done really well as well. So there, you definitely can do it. You just have to be careful, and this is why you get beta readers and stuff to help you make sure that you're giving the same amount of attention to both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. Do all your books have a happy ending? Yes, because I'm a romance writer. So yes.
Mine, yes, but not just because I'm a romance writer and you have to be a true romance, but because I really, really find solace in the stories that are horrible and dark and hurt you, but end happy, because it creates like kind of the narrative that, it feels real to me, and it gives you like hope in your waking life. So like, things can be bad and whatever, but I truly believe, in real life that things happen for a reason. And I believe in soulmates, and I believe in being, where you have to be or whatever. And so, which, is a whatever, at any given point, you're like, well, that's a BS line. But the point is, I write happy endings because, I'm an optimist. So I want my readers to know that even when they're reading the Miranda writes, it's gonna end happy, and they don't have to be scared. So,
I mean, I get that. I'm a firm believer that things happen in life that are supposed to happen. You meet the people that you're supposed to meet and stuff like that, and you meet them when you need to meet them, and that there's a purpose, no matter how painful that person, like, no matter how painful it is, your experience with that person, there's a reason why they were there, whether good or bad. But I'm also that person who's like, you also choose your happiness, and you have to work towards happiness. So my books, you'll kind of notice there's that underlying theme of my characters kind of one day waking up and realizing like, oh, hey, this is actually on me to figure out. I can't just expect life to do it for me, kind of thing. So it all ends happy, but I get there a different route. Advice you would give your future, past, and current self. My future self, keep going. Keep on keeping on, girl.
Yeah, keep on keeping on.
My past self, don't be afraid of rejection, don't be afraid of criticism, and don't be afraid to reach out to new people, and talk to people. And to my current self, um, become more of a hopeless romantic in real life.
Well, through the party. Okay, sorry. So I'm just gonna blanket this. My advice, I don't know that I would give it to myself. I try to remind, there are certain like quotes, I like quotes, that I try to remind myself of as I go through life. My favorite one is, a ship at the harbor is safe, but not what ships are built for. So if you're going to apply that to writing, you know, if you want to be a writer, write, just do it. You know, don't sit there and say that you're going to do it and then not do it. Get out of bed and do it. It's really, hard sometimes because you don't have the energy, and you know, you don't have the muse, and you don't have it. But as my mom would say, if you get up and you sprint for 10 minutes a day, then you know you have 200 words a day. And if it's garbage, you can go back and you can edit it, but at least you have those ideas out, and you might start to see a structure form faster than you thought you would. And yeah, okay. And then the other one, I read once, and it's kind of like a sadder thing, but you know, if you wake up in the morning and you look yourself in the mirror and you smile, your day's going to start out well, you know? So just try to be conscious of that, and try to, you know, be positive and be the light you want to see in the world, and whatever, like, do good with people and worry about the impact that you're making, as opposed to, you know, anything else going on. Don't compare yourself and blah, blah, blah. So.
Yeah. Do you drink alcohol while you write? Sometimes if I'm writing in the evening, I do like a good glass of wine. So if I do end up writing in the evening, sometimes I will have a glass of wine, and often it's just because I'm having wine anyway. It's not like they don't go hand in hand. Like coffee and writing tends to go more hand in hand with me. Yeah, definitely not when I edit. When I edit, I like to be sober. But like if I'm writing a first draft, I'm not afraid to throw a little alcohol into the mix, you know? But I can't see the chat anymore.
My chat. Dreamers, your question is funny because I want you to read the Ostler's Boy now. Okay.
But yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah. So no, I don't really drink ever. I drink in social situations, like on holidays. If somebody offers me a glass of wine, though I don't particularly care for wine, don't come at me. I like the sweeter drinks, like, you know, Irish cream and Irish coffee, and
I'm enjoying that too. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for that too.
That's what I like. When we have our, you know, Christmas party here on So You Wanna, I might have some eggnog, but yeah. I don't do it when I write, and that's just because I'm just not a drinker. I'm stone cold sober all the time.
What does that say about your writing?
Yeah, man. Sky says, I like when a book or a series of books or TV leaves me with no more questions. Everything is complete, happy ending or not what ifs. Yeah, I like that too. I think all the ties need to be wrapped up. I won't talk about Game of Thrones.
We were actually talking about that today with Megan's book, because she was feeling concerned that it was going to be too long, but she had a lot of stuff to wrap up. And in my opinion, I was like, you know what, like, wrap it up. I'd rather read a longer book that's, you know, complete than to, you know, have all this stuff that I'm like, well, that got resolved really quick. That was kind of anticlimactic in its, you know, in its resolution. And I mean, there's a lot of, by the way, for anyone who is a romance writer, this is something a lot of romance writers get worried about. Unless you are writing for Harlequin, which does have very strict word numbers, like 50 Shades of Grey, the final book was like 170K. So do not feel restricted to like 60K words and stuff. Yeah.
Skies also says, advice I would give my past self would be, you are stronger than you think, fight for what you believe in. Yes, I like that. Little Dreamers asked, red or white wine. I think they're both gross.
You know what, guys? I don't discriminate. I am more of a red wine drinker, kind of in the fall, winter time. Spring hits, I'm normally more white, rosé, like the chilled wines. So I'm more of like a grape person, more so than like the color. A lot of people are all about the color, but I'm like, it's more about the grape, people.
Next question. Let's blow through these. We are eating up so many people's times. Thank you for hanging out with us, guys. Dang. Do you face claim or cast your characters? Yes. That's one of the first things I do because I'm crazy anal and I like to, you know, kind of think about how I would describe someone. That's not to say that I don't just find a random actor and say, okay, you're him, you know, but I do look for a specific type. And then, yeah, they help me progress. But
I really don't. Yeah, I don't often do that. Sometimes after the fact, I will think about it a little bit. Like if I got a movie deal, who would I envision? But it's definitely not something I use to start writing or anything like that. Yeah. I just kind of go with it.
Okay, so when will Osler's Boy be released? I am at about the 60K mark. There's a lot to wrap up. I'm, knock on wood, going through it fairly fast. I think this is the quickest that I've written a book.
I feel like you're probably 40 to 50K away.
Yeah, so, but I am moving through it pretty quickly, and I like to edit as I go, so I'll go back and do another edit before I do this, but all the major kinks work out, so I would say...
Thanks for my dog, which you all can probably hear.
Is sometime this year, Osler Boy. I don't want to jinx it. Soon.
Okay. Next question.
On a scale of 0 to 10, how smutty will it be? It will be... That's a weird question. So, you know, it's kind of like it's a dark romance, but it's kind of like a more romantic romance than some of the other pairings, like Miranda and Bishop and the Miranda Rights, or Miranda and Eddie and the Miranda Rights. Like, those are very different relationships, so they have like a varying type of you know, smut to them. But for me, it's more about the story and the journey that the characters are on than the sex. So I'm not sure that I'm like the erotica type writer who is like, hey, here are all these words that are gonna make you cringe because your mom's in the room. But
hey, hi.
You know, it's also not fade to black, you know. So I don't know. What would you say, Elle? I mean, you've read one of the scenes.
I mean, it's definitely got sex in it.
There's more sex in it than
like if 10 is like sex all the time, every chapter, we're definitely more looking towards, you know, 1 to 2 kind of deal. But I mean, if we're talking, will it get you hot and heavy? We're definitely up there in the numbers, I would say.
Oh, well, that's nice. Thanks. When will we see Bishop again? You will see Bishop in chapter 1 of Protect and Serve. He comes out of the gate pretty fast. I think he might be the first character that we see. How did you come up with the vampires and Miranda Rights? So they're actually based on a Cherokee lore that is called Spearfinger, and that is a creature that has a long obsidian stone finger that sucks the soul out of people's stomachs. So I thought, well, that's horrible, and that's, you know, where
that escalated quickly.
All the lore in Miranda Rights is actually based on, so I tweaked things, real life lore, because I wanted it to feel immersive and like familiar, so that when you read it, you were like, wait a second, I think I've heard this, because I thought that would make it more believable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try and blow through my questions that you guys had about my writing fast. Okay. Are you writing a Colorglin spinoff or a sequel? I get asked this every time I put out stuff about Colorglin. I get asked this. No, there will not be a sequel to Colorglin. How it ended is how it ended. Are you writing a Colorglin spinoff? No, I am not. I am in the process, as I showed my crazy binder, in actually editing Colorglin, so you will probably be more likely to see an edited version of the book than a spinoff or a sequel. I do apologize for how loud my house is. People just showed up to hang out with me.
That's okay.
Why won't Isla just divorce Dawn? This is for the my book For the Love of Art. Divorce, you guys, is not something that you just like wake up one day and you're like, all right, we're gonna divorce, sign those papers. And I really wanted to show that side because I feel like TV shows and books often miss the mark on that, about how difficult it can be that even when you know your relationship is over, it can be really hard to actually fully admit and take the steps that you need to take to end that relationship. And I feel like that sometimes gets missed in books, and I really wanted to show how you can feel so conflicted between making the right choice and divorcing someone, but also feel feelings for someone else, and how hard that would be to somehow like to process that and really get there. Yeah. Who are your muses for the characters and For the Love of Art? I don't know that I have a lot of muses. Leanne is probably the only one that I've kind of semi-based on someone, and I've actually kind of based her on university me and who I kind of was in university.
Cool that.
Very loud, very just like I'm just a very loud person, and I don't have a lot of shame. I don't have a lot of filter if you know me really well. So she's kind of based off of that. This is about my poetry. It just says, just one. Why? Because this crazy lady forced me to write poetry. And then the second one is, what is your poetry about? It's sad. My poetry is it's about my life. It's about losing my father. I'm sorry that it's sad. But I will say my life was not necessarily sunshine and daisies. I did have a very wonderful childhood. I had two very loving parents and everything, but not every moment of my life has been perfect. And I think sometimes it's really important to share the not so perfect side of yourself, because I think on Instagram it's very easy for me to show you guys this side of me, the professional author person who seems to have their life together. But this person took a lot of pain and a lot of going through things that were difficult to get to where I am. I didn't just wake up one day and hey, here I am. I went through a lot, and I think it's important to share that I've fought a lot of demons to be who I am and stuff.
Yeah, and I think poetry, when people go to read poetry, they are looking for that cathartic, somebody else feels the way I feel, assurance, reassurance. And, like for me, I buy poetry. Like the two books I showed you are poetry, and I have more on the shelf. But when I open the book, because I'm that person that just opens the book and reads the first page or whatever, when I open my poetry books to buy them, I open to a random poem and see if I can attach to it or relate to it. And so I buy, romantic poetry, and I buy sad poetry, because that is what I need the poetry for. So I think your book offers that to people, and it is sad, but I think that is good. So as a creator,
and I really I wanted to create something real. It's really important to me, especially as someone who studied psychology. Being real and not being afraid to admit that things in your life affected you and maybe caused hardship, whether you're struggling with mental health or not. I think it's just really important, and it needs to be shared more, that no one's life is perfect, no matter how perfect it looks.
And Instagram makes it far too easy to hide that. So
I find it so easy. I found it so easy for so long to hide in my writer world, and like I said, I feel like sometimes the life I portray to my readers has been very fake, because I pick and choose what I'm sharing in my life with you. But this is my poetry is actually something where I'm actually opening up and I'm sharing very personal piece of my life. So I really like that. Anyway, all that said,
we got through all the questions.
We are so over time. We're 45 minutes long. Normally did that.
guys.
That's kind of what we wanted to do for a hangout, and I'm hoping that we do more of this where there's more interaction, though less us.
Yeah.
Because we definitely want to do a hangout again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I also have to share some other really bad news with you guys, so maybe you'll be grateful that we went over time. We're not going to be back next week. Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. It's just a busy time of year. I know we've kind of been like having all these days off, but as fall kicks in, I think we'll be more kind of on track to do every Sunday again. It's just insanely busy. I have some familial obligations I can't get out of.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna focus on those, and I just didn't feel like I could research anything. Katrina, as you guys know, was supposed to be on here this week, but she had to cancel, which of course, like, we're totally cool with that. Things come up, life happens. It's happened to us before. So to make up for it, she said that she's going to be here on the 15th of August. So we'll be talking about writing people of color and how to do that, you know, properly, which I'm really excited for as a person of color. And then, so we're hoping to have a show on the 8th. We haven't quite fixed out what we're going to do yet. But we are hoping to do a show on the 8th. I might still have something on the 8th. We're not 100% sure yet, but we are aiming for it. We are planning for it, and I am going to do my darndest to be here for you guys. But just stay tuned to our pages. We will definitely let you guys know.
Oh, I gotta pop my
Okay.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us for almost 2 hours. Oh my god. You know, this is our first ever So You Want to Hang Out, and we really want to do more of these in the future. But before we, you know, between our regular schedule programming, of course, don't worry, we'll get back to writing tips. But off the cuff, we're thinking of So You Want a Halloween and So You Want a Die Hard Christmas. You know, so if you have an idea or you want to be on our show, don't wait for an invitation. Reach out, slide into our DMs. We're going to do it. And like I said, we have some things up our sleeves for you. Also, as she mentioned earlier, be on the lookout for merchandise that is coming in the way of mugs. It's not going to be this mug, but I don't have the actual mug it's going to be, but it's coming. So
we're so excited.
I know that we have a lot of European viewers, and guys, it is almost 2 a.m. for you. Thank you so much for being here. It's so incredible that you guys have devoted so much time to us and to be here to support us as we eat into your night. So I will stop talking. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll go.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.